Hello. Hope everybody's had a great week. It is Sunday, and you are watching Blind Hope with Rich. And yep, you guessed it, I'm Rich. Only in name, though, only in name. Anyways, I hope everybody's been having a great week. Hope everybody's been finding positive and positivity and motivation. Hope everybody's been feeling good. Hope everybody has been thinking positive thoughts, been working forward, and I'm sorry if anybody's been having some challenges. Reach out to your friends, your support systems, find some support. You don't have to live through the challenges of life on your own. Something that's very important to always keep in mind. Anyways, I wanted to talk today about some stuff that's been going on in my life. I want to talk about chaos and drama and trying to stay out of that toxicity that stuff can cause. There's times I feel that uh, we can't avoid some of the toxicity caused by chaos and drama, but there's times when it's just if it's not my monkey, it's not my circus. I don't have to take that chaos and drama. I can let that stuff just slide right off because I tell you what, you know, I've been it's been a very challenging week. Um, you know, um, my wife, unfortunately, she lost her job, but it's also a very fortunate thing because she was very unhappy and it was causing problems with me and her getting to spend time together on vacations because um, as we are in recovery, we're recovering addicts, both of us, and we go to these recovery functions. Whether it's a convention in a hotel or it's a camp out that we get to pull the trailer out there and camp, and other people are tent city, and we're having a freaking blast with hundreds of people. But it was really tough on her. Her boss was just not understanding. I felt like she was just very disrespectful to my wife, um, which hit me quite a bit. But I gotta recognize that there's some things I just can't do anything about, and I have to accept it. I didn't, allow myself to dive headfirst into chaos and drama by picking up the phone and letting her boss know what I thought of her. Because it crossed my mind. But I made the right choice. You know, and my wife, man, she's keeping a positive mindset. She's taking steps. She's already got a job interview for Monday. And she just filled out another application that I'm hoping maybe that'll work out too, and she will have good things coming her way. So you know that chaos and drama, though. Let's talk about that some. It can be you can be in a work environment, and you can have coworkers that it's almost like they thrive off of chaos and drama. They got to have be stirring the pot, stirring the pot. You know, but you don't have to be involved in that stuff. You can just step away and don't put your 2 cents in. It's like if somebody rolls the ball to you and you pick it up and you roll the ball back, you're getting involved. Just let the ball roll by you. Let it go right on by. You don't have to get involved in that stuff. If it isn't directly related to you, you don't have to. You know, I know that, we got family members out there that, some people, you know, I can spend, so long with some family members and then I gotta step back because, even family members, have some chaos and drama that's going on, and they feel like, me and my wife need to be a part of it. And I'm just like, no, no, I don't want any of it because it creates negativity in my head. it makes me feel bad. I mean, I don't know, I can think of a bunch of feelings that I get when I'm getting involved in the chaos and drama. I want to have serenity. I want to have a inner peace. I want to have a sense of calm that, when I come home, I can sit back, and be with my wife and be happy. I don't want to have to drag. No, I don't have to drag it. Sometimes I choose to drag some of the chaos and drama from my work home, and I gotta start trying harder to leave work at work. I don't want to bring it home because I have some things going on, whether it's with clients, whether it's with some of my staff. There's some chaos and drama going on. The whole he said she said game. That's something that, God, it's crazy when adults want to play that game, and they're adults. Back when we were kids, the he said, she said game, that came up quite a bit, at least for me when I was a kid, but, that's been a while. I don't know about kids today, but man, yeah, I'm not good with that. I don't want in that, but there's times, with my position in the company that I have to step in and, you know, clear things up, settle things down so that, we can move forward and, it not be, revenge theory or drama, 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 or more nitpicking at each other. Sometimes in my position, I have to step into the muck. But I don't have to live in it. I don't have to stay in it. I can choose step on back, get out after you get done when you get done. I was recently working with a client who had a family member, you know, pass away. And, this client was telling me, hey, I'm going to have to go to the funeral, and I'm going to have to see this family member and this family member and this family member. And they are just nasty and chaotic, and all their life is just about drama and talking about their neighbors and everything else. And I just don't want to be a part of it. And I was like, well, is it important for you to go and pay your respects to somebody that you were close to? And they're like, absolutely. Okay, and you go and you do that. But you don't have to pick the ball up. If somebody comes and talks to you, you can have communication. And that's the key thing right there. You can have communication that they throw something at you that could open a door to a chaotic or dramatic discussion, and you can be like, instead of allowing that door to open, you can just simply be like, and I'm sorry to hear you're going through that, you know, and end it right there. You don't have to you know keep really what happened. Oh man, and engage with it. Sorry to hear that. You can either walk away, or you can sorry to hear that, and then you can transition to a different subject. I mean, there's ways to get away from this chaos and the drama, that is running rampant in our society today. It feels like you can't even go into a grocery store and you not overhear people having some kind of gossiping about something. It just drives me crazy. I'm just like, oh my gosh, is that all you have to do in your life? Is focus on other people? Hey, somebody want to talk about me? More power to you, because I don't have, I believe, that exciting of a life. I have a life that makes me happy, but it's not that exciting. But if it's exciting enough that you want to talk about me, for it, I don't care. I live my life like an open book to the best of my ability. You know, if talking about me makes somebody else feel better, okay. Kind of sounds kind of silly, but okay. You know, what bothers me is when people come running to me wanting to tell me about somebody. Oh, did you know that dude so and so did this and this and that and the next thing? And I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, thanks for letting me know. And I walk off. I won't engage in those kind of games because that's not what I want. That's not the mindset I want. That's not the feelings that I want. What I want is inner peace. I mean, that's what it breaks down to. My spirituality is based on inner peace. Pretty simple, really. You know, if you don't open the door, you don't have to live in that stuff. You know, and for a lot of us, chaos and drama, it can make us feel depressed, it can annoyed, frustrated, irritated, unsure. It can create all sorts of feelings that aren't going to help us enjoy the life that we've been given. It's going to drag us down, you know? And it's our job, because it's our life, to shut the door on the chaos and the drama. We don't have to open up and say, oh, yeah, bring that puke in here, Go ahead and puke some of that nasty chaos on me. I would love it. No, we don't have to be like that. We don't have to deal with that at all. You know, we have to deal with what we have to deal with, and then we step out, remove us ourselves. Don't stay rolling around in the muck. You know, I remember this phrase, quote, phrase. I'm not sure. I don't think it's a quote. I think it's probably a phrase. Is what I would call it, that I heard uh, in recovery. They say pain is necessary, misery optional. Pain is necessary, misery is optional. Just spend a moment and think about that. You know, Golly, I have to experience pain. Sometimes it's physical pain, sometimes it's mental health pain, sometimes it's emotional pain. We lose a loved one, man, we're going to feel some pain, especially if we were tight with them. You know, I didn't, you know, get what I wanted on a test. I didn't, make the grade that I wanted. I didn't, something, that just makes us feel some kind of pain. It can be so many different things. We have to feel it. We have to walk through it to get out of it. We can't just sweep it under the rug. That ain't going to work for us, because I tell you what, you can only sweep so much under the rug before you trip on the rug, and all that stuff's going to come sliding on out. Pack it in a closet. Yeah, how full can you get a closet? It'll eventually come out. You know, Walk through it. Be done with it. The misery is when you decide you want to sit there and play with it, and oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, and it just starts oozing all over you. It's just like a pig rolling around in the mud. You know, you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to live with misery. You have to feel some pain in your life. It sucks. I would love to say, it's all. Oh, I have a critter that has joined the video. I think little kitten Cisco. He, for some reason, is fascinated with the monitor. He's a crazy cat. He also feels he gets to sit at the table and eat whatever me and my wife are eating. Not sure what that is, but I've never had a cat to do that. But yeah, he can have the chicken, have the French fries, have the whatever we're having. He can have a bite, because I've sat there and not realized he was in front of me, because no vision. I'm holding some piece of food, and there he go. It's out of my hand, and he's across the table before I could get him. So yeah, where'd that little guy go? Where'd that little guy go? I don't know. He shows up when he wants to. Anyways, so misery. Don't have to be living in it, do ya? Nope, you don't. What are ways that we can think to get out of get through the pain? Biggest suggestion: talking to people. Some of us men, you know, we are men. We're gonna walk through it. We'll handle it all on our own. You know how crazy that sounds in today's day and age. No, we don't have to walk through this stuff on our own. We can open up and share. Heaven forbid a man shares his feelings. I know it sounds crazy and chaotic, and some of us were raised, men don't share their feelings. Well, I got news for you. Men can share their feelings. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Really isn't. Share your feelings with somebody that you trust, your spouse, your parents, with, a sibling, a loved one, somebody that you trust, a counselor, a therapist. Share your feelings because that'll help you walk through the process of this pain to get to the other side. The key thing is don't try and do it alone. Get through it. Don't sit there and swim in it because you're going to create some drama. You're going to create some chaos. So, but you just have to do what you got to do. But, it'll work out. You just have to have faith, and you have to keep moving forward. You know? The chaos and the drama, man, I tell you what, it can really drag a person down. It can be something that mm, nobody wants. Nobody wants. But at the same time, somehow people end up right in the middle of it. And it's amazing because in my past, I absolutely was not only in the middle of it, I was stirring the pot, creating the chaos and drama. And as I've moved forward in my life, I've realized that is some nasty stuff that I don't need to be a part of. If I need to be a part of it in the fact that I'm helping a client get out of it, okay, I'm willing to be that person. Like I was just saying, don't have to do it all alone. You know, it applies in this situation with chaos and drama. If you're in it and you know you're in it, you know, look for that hand that's reaching out, that's trying to help you get out of it. Because you gotta have to get out of it. You can't sit there in it because then you start wallowing around in that stuff. And where's the good part of that? How is that making your life better? You know, I'm here to try and get you guys motivated, or inspired, not to have to live in chaos and drama. Right now, you know, uh, the company I work for, it's a freaking, I mean, I love the company I work for. I've never had a boss as awesome as what I got. The lady, she treats me with so much respect, and just because I've lost my vision this past year, she's like, yeah, nah, I ain't looking to get rid of you. And instead, she's going to send me to freaking get my certification to be an anger management instructor. I'm like, oh, that's going to be fun. Because I used to be somebody that was a grumpy, angry person. Nowadays, it takes too much energy to be angry. I'll pass on the anger. I'll pass on that, because for me, if I was angry, there's probably some chaos and some drama, rolling around in the mix. Today, if I'm not playing with chaos and drama, strange thing happens. I don't get mad, you know? If I have to help some people, work it out where they don't have to deal with the chaos and drama, because sometimes people feel like, I got to get involved in this. Do you really? Ask yourself that before you start stepping into the muck. Do you really have to be involved in the chaos and drama? Like with the example I gave earlier about the a person's family member passing away, and you're going to have to be around other family members that of them, honestly, I think thrive in the chaos and drama. You don't have to be one of those people. Find the exit strategy. Do what you need to do. Be there and pay your respects to that person that you love that is gone. You know, that's an important thing. That helps you to find the closure you need. That helps you to move forward through the pain, the grief, the loss. And it doesn't mean you have to have chaos and drama. You don't have to be a part of it. Nope. I'm telling you, I know it. You don't have to be a part. You have to be present, but it doesn't mean you have to pick the ball up and play. Chaos and drama. I would love to hear some comments from people how they manage to work out, ways to deal with chaos and drama when it comes up in their lives. Because sometimes this stuff it just like gets dropped in our laps, so we're like, "Oh my goodness, this is not what I want." You know, so try and figure out what can we do to, get out of the chaos and the drama. Do we have to absolutely be there in the chaos and drama? I say no. It doesn't mean people are going to agree with me on that. For me, the most I have to be involved is to help, a client. And I'm okay with being of service. I'm okay with helping somebody, you know, get through what they need to get through so that they can find happiness, you know, and I'm okay with that. But I don't have to live in it. Help them through it. I'll extend a hand, help them pull them through. I ain't getting in it. I'll help them out. And that can be true for so many people, you know. Somebody can say, my best friend is going through this freaking, this situation. It's just, and you can see that it's just chaotic for that poor person, you know. Do you have to jump in with both feet first and swim around in it with them? No, you sure don't. You can put a hand out and try and be there when they're ready to take your hand and pull them out. Until then, you stand there with your hand, and be ready to offer when they're ready to accept. You, you have to meet somebody, where they are. You can't just dive in there, thinking, I'm going to save the day. Nah, it really ain't like that. I'd love to say that, I'm saving people day after day, from having to go through, family members that have family members that have family members that have other family members that want to just create chaos and drama. I have this one person, they have a sibling that literally, this person is having a great life, you know, raising two young little girls. I mean, young little girls, not even 2 years old, probably. And these little girls are just awesome. I've gotten the pleasure to meet them. And, my client has a sibling that since the client isn't wanting to play in the drug game anymore, they're wanting to make a lifestyle change so they can be the best mom they can be for these little girls. The sibling decided to call child enforcement on her for no reason. There wasn't abuse, there wasn't neglect, there wasn't, client wasn't getting high. I mean, it was just to stir the pot because the sibling, the client wasn't joining the sibling in the chaos of drug use, the chaos that is created when you play in the drug game. Nah, they wouldn't do it. So the sibling got mad, called a state agency, and they had to come out, do an investigation, and take up time just to find out, oh, there's not really a problem here, huh? People want to stir up chaos and drama. if things aren't going their way, there's people out there obviously that are like that. You don't have to be a part of that. Just remember that. You don't have to be a part. You know, if somebody's rolling the ball to you and you can just see chaos written all over it, let it roll by. You know, it doesn't have to be part of your life. Your life is what you choose for it to be. You know, and let me talk for a little bit here about the people that have the vision impairment. You know, of whatever degree. You know, sometimes things feel so chaotic. You know, I'm still, within my first year of having complete vision loss, and the chaos that I felt because I can't reach out and I can't, see what's on the computer screen. I can't type in something and be like, okay, I see what I'm typing. Okay, I got it all, got it all, got it all. I have to use a different sense, my hearing, and have a software program that tells me the buttons I'm hitting and what I'm doing and where am I going on this software. And man, it's crazy sometimes. I'm just like, oh, this is chaotic, because if I had my sight, I could just be like, oh, okay, I just got to do this and that's it. It'd be so simple. No, no. I still take on the responsibility because I choose to take care of the bills for our house. I know that I don't. My wife is very competent and very intelligent, and she could do that if I want her to. But I don't want her to. I have a system. It's not chaotic. I know this is when this gets taken care of. This was when this bill gets taken care of, so on and so forth. It's I just had to find a way to stay a productive member of society, you know, and there's no chaos in it for me. Oh, there's a little guy. Hi, Cisco. I don't know why he's just found such a fascination in the last video. I noticed he started getting fascinated with. Maybe he's I don't know. Maybe he's a camera hog. I'm not sure. No, he's not. He's an awesome little guy. Um, he's funny as can be too. So Anyways, you guys, I hope this has helped you guys, recognize that, you know, the chaos and drama can create the feelings, can create the negative, environment. You don't have to be in it. You don't have to live in that stuff. You have the choice, you know, to figure out what you need to do, how you need to go about it. And if you're unsure, you know, reach out, talk to some people that you trust, you know, have them explain to you what your feelings are going to be. You can do that. It'll be okay. But anyways, if this video has helped you, please like and subscribe to my channel. It's that symbol, and then you can just type "Blind Hope with Rich." Don't have to capitalize. Don't have to space. It pops up. Obviously, if you're watching this, I guess, duh, probably already figured that out. Subscribe, please. I love having some new people, and I love if you guys would comment below, and let me know what you're feeling, what you're thinking, you know. Let me see what kind of feedback you have because I'm open-minded to hearing feedback, other suggestions, whatever we can do, to help each other, you know. And I'll let you know this Tuesday. I will be having the eye surgery. The right eye will be getting removed. Getting a little scared. But you know what? It's going to work out exactly how it's supposed to. I don't know what that is, but I'm hoping it's going to be a good thing. So, for those of you that do some praying, send up a prayer, that Rich's eye surgery works out great and everything's peachy keen because I could definitely use all the support I could get. Anyways, I appreciate y'all sitting and checking out this video. And if you haven't checked out the other ones, please give them a look-see. You know, I'm here trying to just to inspire and help people make it through, you know, with a smile on their face and not feel down with feel like they have to have their head down and gloomy. Nah, you don't need to live like that, do we? No. In my last video, I shared something that was, you know, something I believe in truly. I heard somebody share that was, you know, had a really rough time in life, and unfortunately, cancer took that person's life. But they said, and I'm going to say it in this video too, because I think it's something we need to keep in mind. We don't have to wait for a good day to be happy. We can be happy no matter what. Isn't that something we can choose to do? I believe it is. I believe we can find the ways to, you know, accept things as they are and still have a smile on our face. Anyways, I hope y'all have a great upcoming week. And next week, I'm still going to be posting, even though I'm going to be recovering from this procedure. I'm still going to be posting. So I'm just going to likely have a big gauze pad over my right eye. So if y'all wondering what it is, that's what it'll be. And I'll be minus one eye. So, anyways, y'all take care and have a great time. Be happy. I'll talk to y'all soon.